So to do that, we are joined now by psychologist Dr. Cheyenne Bryant. Dr. Bryant, thank you so much for being with us. This remains so fascinating to us armchair psychologists. I can imagine what it's like for you. So much to talk about. This apology was about 6 minutes. It's very interesting. He's speaking to camera. There's 2 cameras. It's also quite reflective, which we don't always hear from public figures when they are trying to apologize. What stood out to you as a psychologist from what you heard and saw today?
Well, what stood out to me, first of all, thank you for having me on. What stood out for me was the fact that a couple of things. Will didn't come out immediately and from reaction apologize. Usually when folks apologize really quick, it's to shut the audience up or to take the weight off themselves. And what he did was he processed before he produced his apology. So what does that mean? That means that there is a huge possibility that his apology came from the heart and that it does hold some weight. However, he did mention in his apology that, the Rock family is not ready yet for that apology. Now, whether they become ready or never do become ready, that's also an optics that needs to be supported. Again, it was a choice for Will to behave and exhibit that type of conduct. And it's also a choice for the Rock family to say when they will, if ever, be ready for this apology. It's something that needs to be paid close attention to. And I just want to say, I see this happen in a lot of my celebrity clients where as their success goes up, their sense of self comes down. And then they get into a place where they act out in these erratic behaviors. And then they do like Will did, they pull back and say, yo, what am I doing? What is this about? Right. And so they're searching for that sense of self. But at the end of the day, he still has to take accountability, and the Rock family still needs to be able to have their time to see if they are going to be ready. And even in the space to forgive something that was as humiliating as this act was.
Yeah, and Dr. Bryant, you and I were talking earlier about what makes a successful apology. You said, for one thing, it's got to come from the heart, and you said you did sense that a little bit. But when it's 2 people in an intimate session, it's direct, you can feel that heart to heart. This is a different sort of apology. It's a public apology, and we're in this era of the Apple Notes screenshot apology, which is one form. This is something very different where he's speaking to camera. And you're speaking with celebrity clients, so I imagine sometimes you also counsel them through these kinds of things, these very public moments. So what constitutes the dynamics for a successful public apology, where it's not just directly between the 2, but also for the public who might be cynical of the incentives for Will Smith to be apologizing in the first place?
Well, Will Smith said something that we should all pay attention to. He said, I reached out to Chris initially before I did this public policy on camera, right, and made it go public. And he said that, Chris said he's just not ready to sit and have that conversation or even to possibly accept that apology. And so if you look at the protocol, the process that Will took, he said, hey, I reached out first, which is what he should have done to make an apology be sincere. And once I seen that I, couldn't have that one-on-one, then I still want to make sure I got my apology out and not just apologize to Chris Rock, but Tony Rock, Mama Rock, the entire Rock family, because again, when you have an impact like this on one person, not only that person is impacted, their family's impacted, the entire comedy community is impacted, just like Dave Chappelle had someone rush on his stage. So now folks are starting to emanate that Will Smith behavior, and it's unsafe and it is a threat to themselves, everyone who's going to these comedy events, and obviously the comedian that's on stage.
Well, Dr. Bryant, we do see people who are cynical of this sort of apology, but at the very least, Will Smith did take a lot of people's perspectives into mind and consideration when he spoke. You can watch that apology, of course, in full. Dr. Bryant, thank you so much for breaking that down for us.